welterweight vacant WBA International Championship. 12 3-minute rounds. This one is for Nordin Ben Salah. Here he comes to the ring in action against Sidney Msutu. Now, Ben Salah's last fight was against Msutu, and he outpointed Msutu over 10 rounds. Msutu has had one fight since that loss to Ben Salah. He was outpointed over 8 by Jose Guerrero. And here we are. Ben Salah, of course, boxing for the second time against this guy, back-to-back, from Morocco originally.
Out of the red corner from South Africa, aus Südafrika, Sidney Msutu, 74,5 kilo.
Indeed, so there you are then, from Cape Town. Former Cape champion and South African champion. Started life as a welterweight. Referee for this one, John Coyle from Wolverhampton, one of the world's finest. Yes, Msutu started life as a welterweight, and it's ironic that in 1998, Ben Salah had one fight where he was almost scaling at the light heavyweight limit. So, huge disparity then in the weights between these two on occasion, but of course they both come in inside the 12-stone super middleweight limit for this one. Sidney Msutu against Nordin Ben Salah. A repeat win for Ben Salah will suit him right down to the ground. It will also mean, of course, he's the WBA International Champion at super middle. Of course, Msutu has other ideas. And to be honest, I can't see this being too different. There's nothing on the form that would suggest that there's any reason why Ben Salah should not repeat a previous points win, although it was a 10-rounder. This is 12. I can't imagine that there's too much between these two. Or should I say there's too much of a difference between them to suggest it would go any other way. Msutu now 33, Ben Salah 29. Goes on for the nickname. You will have seen him as Fighting Nordin. One of the best Dutch fighters around at the moment, the former Benelux champion. Actually won that back in 1997. Beat Hassan Mokhtar in the first round. Then he won the WBU title. He beat Norbert Nieroba on points over 12. Goodness knows how Nieroba was nominated by the WBU to fight for their title, but there you are. Also beat Woody Kreinen for the Dutch championship, so pretty used to winning titles, Ben Salah. And he's got a chance now to become the WBA International Champion. Don't ask me what it is, because I don't know, and I don't care. But it's a decent match. Their first fight proved to be a pretty lively encounter. Msutu's clever. His record is not too clever. He's won 16, but he's lost 14 times and drawn 3. And he's got a 50% knockout ratio. He's won 8 in 16, inside the limit. A couple of names on the record of Msutu worth noting. He was beaten by the former British champion Del Bryan on points over 10, but he did get a win over Robert Wright, the Midlander, on points in his native South Africa. One of his best recent results was a draw with the Danish Olympian Hassan Al on points over 10. Stopped by Evans Ashira in 8. Ashira, of course, highly ranked at the moment. And he's lost his last 5, so he's in a bit of a dark patch, really, Msutu. Needs a good win here, but it looks awfully unlikely. So once again, Msutu, the 33-year-old veteran from South Africa, a little bit on the tricky side. And the Ben Salah's probably taken round 1. So a bit of a name check then. I was very happy to attend the recent boxing memorabilia fair in London and met up with some Brighton boys by the names of Gary, Miles, Jim and Ralph. Hi guys, lovely to meet you. Very regular, loyal Eurosport boxing fans. And a great day out at the boxing memorabilia fair. If you ever get the chance to go, take it. It's once a year. Also met up with Ray Caulfield, the London Ex-Boxers Association treasurer, and he actually gave me Dick McTaggart's record. And I'll tell you that in just a moment. You will not believe it. One of the most incredible amateur boxing records I've ever come across. I knew he'd had a lot, but wait till you hear what he had. I'll do that after this round. Indeed it is. Round 2 then. Vacant WBA International Super Middleweight Championship. We just saw, of course, Jerry Elliott winning the IBF Inter-continental, which is, of course, on a par with this WBA International. I think the WBO were responsible in some way for introducing these silly titles. They had the Penta-continental and all kinds of lunacy like that, of course, in their formative years. So Nordin Ben Salah then, from Morocco originally, but based in Holland for the most parts of his career, but recently been boxing in Germany. In fact, this is his 4th straight time in Germany. Boxed once, believe it or not, in Egypt. I think that was on the Chris Eubank bill. If I remember rightly, Eubank did box once in Egypt, although I'm not absolutely certain. As I say, the memory these days is failing. Oh, nice body shot there from Ben Salah. And John Coyle, one of those referees who you forget is there because he does such a good job. He doesn't get involved unless he absolutely has to. Decent right again from Nordin. Oh, and a good left hook. Left hook come uppercut there, just catching Msutu on the chin. Actually, John Coyle once refereed me, believe it or not. Yes, he is that old.
Keer op de borst, keer op de borst. En trek hem gewoon niet lang, niet te lang. Ja, dat is vast. En dubbel in, ja. En dicht, hè, hij komt onverwachts. En dicht, zo, ja, kan je niks maken. Juist, steeds eroverheen. Zo, hou direct zo. Kleiner maken.
Nothing particularly fluid about Ben Salah's work. He does put an awful lot into his punches, the single punches. Takes a right there from Msutu. And it's a problem if you do load up on a shot and it goes astray, you've got to reset yourself. And all the opponent's got to do then is just keep moving, keep mobile. Nice little punches there from Msutu. No great weight behind them. But of course, as I said before, he did campaign for the most part of his career as a welterweight.
Laat hem niet zakken, die linkerarm. Die rechter ook niet.
Not a bad round this so far for Msutu. Not quite sure he's winning it, but there's certainly not much in it.
Zaak op elkaar, come on.
Interesting. Interesting. Msutu then getting a little bit more confident there, but I still think Ben Salah might just have nicked that one.
Das war die zweite Runde. Es ist dies ein...
Youngsters, new techno revelation from France.
Spacious, luxurious, and comfortable. Welcome to the essence of contemporary minivan, Kia Carnival. All you need to do is to enjoy yourself. Surprise yourself with Kia Carnival. Kia Motors.
This Sunday night on Eurosport, we're in the American zone, with mega coverage of motorsport from the other side of the Atlantic. Plus, there's a roundup of the latest US sports news.
That's the American news at 1945, NASCAR from Talladega, Alabama at 2000, and kart, the penultimate round at 2100.
Boxing. With Hasseröder, the German premier beer.
Zur dritten Runde, Round
Here we go then, round 3 then, being called out by Wolfgang Lai, who, interestingly, the timekeeper, of course, calls the boxers out in British rings and, of course, in American rings, but it's the MC that does it in Germany. Got no problem with that, of course. Although I do think it's the timekeeper's job. So round 3, and Ben Salah, I think, has nicked the first couple. Round 2 was pretty close. And Sidney Msutu, well, looked like he was growing in confidence in round 2. And as you can see, there's a massive physical difference between these two. And Ben Salah is a solid super middleweight. Msutu not showing any fear here. He's crafty, cagey, capable. But of course been beaten once before by the man he faces here. And there seems to be something a wee bit hesitant about Ben Salah here.
Slippen, slippen, kan hij niet raken. Slippen, niet blijven staan. Hoog die handjes. Allebei. Ja.
Well, once again the right hand, they're just landing on Masutu's chin, but not with any great conviction from Ben Salah. And that's what's missing here, I think, is that sense of conviction that he showed so much in the previous meeting. Maybe something happened in that particular fight that has made him approach this one slightly differently. Msutu stealing a few shots. And again. And that's an old trick, by the way. Just look at Masutu's face there. Look at the eyes. He's looking at the body, and then he'll look up to the head. And he's keeping Ben Salah guessing about where the next punch is coming from, or more importantly, where it's going to. Some fighters I've seen actually never look at their opponent at all. And it's very hard to work them out. Others, their eyes burn into them. But Sidney Msutu looking pretty good here. It looks like he might just have stolen round 3. Once again, a close round, but I thought he nicked it. Anyway, back to Dick McTaggart, MBE's record. Believe it or not, ready for this, he had 634 amateur contests. That's incredible. And listen to this, he won 610. Amazing. And he had 24, what he calls bad decisions, 24 defeats. That's amazing. My thanks to Ray Caulfield for bringing that to my attention, because, as I say, it's one of those records that will never be equalled. It's an incredible feat. Of course, Dick also won the Olympic gold medal. That's Henry Masker on the right. Won the Olympic gold medal in 1956 in Melbourne. He won a bronze in Rome in 1960. 5 ABA titles. Oh. I give up. Into round 4 then. And I was delighted to get a phone call from Mickey Duff very recently. Mickey, of course, Mr. Boxing, in Britain at least, and wasn't too happy with my comments recently about a show featuring a Frenchman who I didn't think was trying too hard. Mickey took exception to that, and I accept what he says. I don't agree with him, but he's perfectly entitled to have his opinion. Nice to see he still takes an interest. And I don't know what it is about Ben Salah here. But he looks awfully hesitant, very loath to close the gap and get some work done. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, stiff left hand there. Maybe he's got a new trainer. Maybe he's been taught something new in the gym and he's trying it out in public. I mean, that does happen. It can be a bit confusing. Often, of course, they just revert to type and end up the same as they were before they learnt their new move. But it looks like he's concentrating far too much. There's no natural fluidity about his movements.
Stop boxing! Punch correctly, they don't count, okay? Box.
Well, slapping there from Msutu. And of course, I've got to reiterate the story about the slap. I believe it was Sid Nathan. Good luck. I hope you get well soon, Sid. Sid's not been too well of late, but we wish you all the very best. Sid, of course, one of Britain's finest referees. I believe it was him who refereed John L. Gardner against Ibar Arrington at the Albert Hall. And Arrington was slapping very early on. And I think it was Sid who said, you know, they don't count. You've got to punch with the knuckle part of the glove. Of course, the next punch that landed knocked poor old John L. spark out. And I'd rather take a slap than a knuckle shot any time. But that's what can happen when you get it right.
Hey, je laat je handen zakken, hè? Dat kan niet. Zo ja.
So, oh, nice. Good uppercut there from Sidney Msutu. And Ben Salah is not having things all his own way. Maybe the gloves are uncomfortable, he's pulling them down, as you can see there. Maybe they just don't feel right. Some of these gloves don't, you know. Well, once again, the rhythm off for Ben Salah, but okay for Msutu. Nice jab. But I don't think Ben Salah's won the round. So, 2 each then, 4 gone, potentially 8 more to go.
Das war die 4. Runde. Sidney Msutu war schon öfter hier in Deutschland, wird immer wieder gern gesehen, hat auch gegen Dirk Cemski, den internationalen deutschen Meister, geboxt, ganz knapp verloren. Der Trainer von Dirk Cemski ist hier, Werner Kirsch. Der Manager Ulf Steinfurt, herzlich willkommen, und die beiden haben eine große Aufgabe vor sich. René Monte boxt demnächst die Europameisterschaft gegen Luan Krasnicki.
Yes, that's right, and Wolfgang, I was telling the public that the first fight that Msutu had in Germany was against Dirk Zemski. He lost that one on points over 8. And of course he came back and was beaten by this guy over 10. And last time out was outscored over 8 by Jose Guerrero. And I don't know who that is. Not up on my German sports stars, I do apologise. Round 5 then. Sid Msutu against Nordin Ben Salah. Vacant WBA International Super Middleweight title. Once again, Ben Salah, they're trying to pull that left-hand glove on much more firmly. They look very ugly, those gloves. They don't look like they're sitting on his hands particularly well. If you look at the difference between Msutu's gloves and Ben Salah's look a size heavier. It could be 10s against 12s here. Isn't that odd? Just have a look. Look nice and closely. Msutu's gloves nice and compact, but Ben Salah's are not. And also the wrist is flapping. Oh, good left hook from Msutu. Oh, and that's got him. Now, did that cut him as well on the right eye, I wonder? And now, good follow-up here from Msutu. Gets caught, though. Wow. Well, that was a very interesting exchange between these two, and Msutu came out on top. Ben Salah on his bike. And again, nice work here. Good stuff from Msutu.
Knok met hem dan. Alles of niks.
He looks on form here, doesn't he?
Echt, hoog, dicht.
So Sidney Msutu then looking for his first win in Germany. The one place he can't win, just like Sugar Ray Robinson could never get a win in Britain. Also a pleasure, by the way, to see Terry Downs at the memorabilia fair the other day, looking in great form. Terry, of course, former world middleweight champion, beat Paul Pender for the title, and also, of course, on one occasion beat the great Sugar Ray. Although, to Terry's credit, he always says, I never beat Sugar Ray Robinson, I beat an old man. I mean, that takes an awful lot of doing to say a thing like that. Credit where it's due, though. Good round this so far, and particularly for Msutu. Yep, indeed. So that's put him in front now by 1 point on my card.
Das
48-47. I've got it now for Msutu. Good crowd here at the ice rink in Cologne. Ice rinks, of course, are fairly normal boxing venues. They just cover them with planks as we watch a bit of replay here. Bang, that's the left hook. That one hurt. This show has brought out the German fight celebrities, Luan Krasnicki and René Monza, etc. And that was a very good moment for Msutu. And so was that. Right uppercut, left hook. But on the long side, if it had been 6 inches closer, they could have been devastating punches. Round 6 then. And I just got Ben Salah slipping behind for the first time in the fight by a single point at 48-47. Once again, still having trouble with those gloves.
Veel minder recht werken, maar dicht. Juist. En dicht, hè? Juist, dicht. Dan kan je geen pijn doen als je dicht bent.
And Msutu, you can see, growing in confidence now. It might be a bit subtle, but it's there.
Nee, dicht. Blijf dicht. Een korter stoten met die armen.
Well, I don't agree with a single word that his cornerman is saying. You can probably hear him shouting out in Flemish.
En dicht, hè? Juist. Zet nou die rechts overheen, hè? Als die linker zo goed zit. En weer dicht. Dicht, hoog die linker. Denk erom, hè? Hoog die linker. Dicht.
Oh, nice. Good work there from Msutu. And I'm just wondering where it's all gone wrong for Ben Salah. He comes into this, remember, unbeaten in 32 professional fights. He looks like he's having a bad day at the office at the moment. He's got to wake up if he's going to win this one. And Msutu comes in with 33 fights on his record, and he's lost almost half of those. And he's having a pretty decent time here.
Door, kom op nou. Linksom, rechtsom. Juist. Strik, niet naar achteruit. Kijk uit, we gaan wat door straks. Hou direct naar hoog, jongen. Mooi.
Well, the right hand popped over by Ben Salah, but it's one of the few things he's done in this round so far that's been of any note.
Laat hem maar stoten, hij gaat pijn doen. Weer dicht. En stoot, en weer dicht. En weer dicht.
And Msutu looks like an old-timer, doesn't he? Who's having fun with a young pretender.
En weer dicht. Oh ja. Niet achter hem aanrennen, korte stapjes.
Well, this looks like a round for Msutu. 2 in front now. Actually got Ben Salah 2 points behind before. That's only my opinion. And, of course, for someone like Msutu to get a decision in Germany over one of their adopted favourites, it's going to be awfully difficult. I think that's a perfectly fair thing to say, and of course it would be applicable in almost any country in the world. So the much smaller Sidney Msutu giving Nordin Ben Salah a lot of problems to work out here. And as you can see, Ben Salah's picked up his lumps and bumps on that face of his.
Come out, stop pushing down. Box. Laat hem niet stoten. Jij bent sneller, jongen. Kom op, jij bent sneller. Hou die linker lopen. Laat die linker lopen. Juist, boem direct. Hoofd die rechterhand.
And it's interesting that Ben Salah looks like he's got old overnight. I hate to say that, I'm not going to write him off, of course, but he is not having a great occasion here. He's never looked comfortable. Those gloves, of course, have been a major point of concern for him as well. Always been fiddling with them. Nice jab, well placed by Msutu. Takes a right. Of course, a big pointer here to how Msutu is feeling. He's not flinched once from a Ben Salah punch. And don't forget, Nordin Ben Salah has got a good knockout record. He's won 31 fights, and in those 31 wins, he's scored 23 knockouts. And, you know, he does bang hard, no doubt about that. But Msutu is unbothered. I'm not actually sure if unbothered is a word, so I apologise for using it, if it's not.
Ho! Juist, laat hem maar komen, ho! En denk erom, juist, linksom, rechtsom, prik. Rechts prik, links prik. En jij kan, hè? Kom op, sneller.
Oh, decent right again from Ben Salah, but this rubbery South African rode the punch pretty well. Well, now Ben Salah coming back and doing the kind of thing he needs to do to win rounds. Looks like he could win this 7th. Oh, good left hook there from Ben Salah. Oh, walks into a right. And there you are, the end of round 7, and that's a round for Ben Salah, I think. And he's come at a very important time as well. But he's still, I think, a point behind. 67-66.
Sie findet am 1. Dezember statt in der Dortmunder Westfalenhalle. Rüdiger May wird dann die Europameisterschaft
Voelt hij niet scherp? Moet er gewoon verder.
What a haircut that is.
Nordin, als je links rechts staat, terug links rechts. Je raakt hem iedere keer.
So, bit of replay here. Ben Salah getting caught with a counter punch. Yes, indeed, Sven Otka also in the audience. And this has brought them all out. See, how would Ben Salah fare with a tricky man like Sven Otka? Not at all well, I wouldn't have thought. Indeed it is, round 8. So Ben Salah then just picks up a round, having lost the previous 4, in my opinion. But he's still a point behind.
Laat hem niet te dichtbij komen. En dicht. Laat weer open staan.
And of course, it's awfully difficult to know in the scheme of things where Ben Salah does really stand in world terms. You know, unbeaten in 32 fights coming into this one. Awfully difficult to know how genuine that form is. You know, there's a couple of names on it, but nothing really to speak of. No offence, of course, to anyone who's faced Ben Salah. And he's struggling, no doubt about it, against a 33-year-old with a 50-50 record from South Africa. That kind of puts it in perspective, really. Switch to southpaw there from Ben Salah, but not comfortable. Back to orthodox.
Stap in, links, rechts, links. En wie dicht, links, rechts, links. En die touw. En die touw. Ja, dat wil ik zien. Ja, hop. Ja. Niet hard willen. Niet hard.
These two, of course, do fight in the same class. So, provided they stay in this kind of class, they're not going to come to any great harm. But of course, as soon as you move out of it, or you move down a class, the gap shows. And I think that's what's been happening, particularly for Ben Salah. He's been boxing below himself most of the time. And here he is up against someone who's about his own kind of stamp, really. And he's not faring too well. Once again, confusing himself, I think, switching to southpaw. And Msutu's got a reasonable right through the middle, as we saw there, and a pretty decent left hook. So I'd say going southpaw would be a big mistake here for the Dutchman. So Msutu has taken advantage of that bit of confusion for Ben Salah, and he's got himself in front in this 8th round. And once again, Msutu punches with Ben Salah and gets away with winning the rally. Far too tricky, isn't he? And that's a good round, I think, for Sidney Msutu. 77-75. And Ben Salah once again falls behind.
WBA-Delegierte Torben Seemann-Hansen aus Dänemark sagte gerade zu dem Matchmaker Jean-Marcel Nath, a great fight. Und sie haben heute Abend im Rahmen bei Sauerland schon 3 internationale Meisterschaften gesehen. Aber die beiden Hauptkämpfe kommen erst noch. Ein großartiges Programm heute Abend. 2 Kämpfe noch. Nach der Pause.
Lang boksen, Nordin. Je doet het niet langer dan een minuut. Je moet het blijven doen.
So a bit of replay here then from the 8th round. Nice combination of punches from Msutu. And Ben Salah looked very unhappy in that exchange, didn't he? Probably because he didn't land any punches. Round 9.
Okay, come on. Box.
That's better. Ben Salah gets the left hand pumping. This came down to a battle of left hands entirely. I wouldn't fancy Ben Salah's chances because Msutu is much, much more fluid. Very smooth action. But of course Ben Salah has got a decent right hand. That we've seen before. And we'll probably see again. And you don't see Ben Salah backed up, do you? And here he is getting backed up by a man who's really a natural welterweight. And you can see the difference in the... Oh, lovely left hook there from Ben Salah. Good punch. Well, can he rescue it here? 2 points behind coming into this 9th, I think. But punches hard enough to take Msutu out of there.
It's okay with the head, Spouse. Dicht! En weer dicht!
Krijg die link er ook nooit in.
Good right through the middle. Front, and he's got, oh goodness, he's in big trouble. Well, look at that, the first time Msutu lands cleanly, and Ben Salah is on the floor here, and he's in big trouble. 8 is not going to beat the count. It's all over. It's all over for Ben Salah, and that is a huge shock. The first defeat of Ben Salah's record, and he's been knocked out in 9 rounds by a South African who wins for the first time in his career in Germany, having sustained 3 defeats. And he also reverses a previous defeat at the hands of Ben Salah, and that is a tragedy for Ben Salah. But he just wasn't the same fighter here. Wow. Well, I just hope that the underdog supporters are pleased for Msutu, who stuck with it, was pretty smooth, and he has some talent, no doubt about that, and he's really exposed Ben Salah now. So that's got to be the end of his pretensions, surely. And also, it means that the South African is now the WBA International Super Middleweight Champion. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that? He came here as very strictly the opponent, and he's walked away with the laurels. Well, there's our matchmaker, Jean-Marcel Naerts. He's the man who puts all these shows together. Works exceptionally hard most of the time. Sometimes it all goes horribly wrong, but that's life. And it's gone wrong here. Not for this guy, it hasn't. But he's been a regular servant for Jean-Marcel, and here he is picking up the win. Lovely right hand there. And this was the one that did it. Bang. And that was the one that caved him in, and he went down very heavily. Well, he saw the timekeeper there even saying it was all over before, just as he hit the deck, because that was a bad knockdown. In fact, I'm not even sure that second punch had much to do with anything. It was possibly the first one that scrambled him. He never got over it. So who'd have thought it? Got to get that wreath back home, sorry, the laurels back home to South Africa on the plane.
Zählte Fightin Nordin nach 1 Minute 47 der 9. Runde aus und damit Sieger durch K.O. und neuer internationaler Meister der WBA im Supermittelgewicht, Sidney Msutu.
So Sidney Msutu then declared the winner in 1 minute 47 seconds of that 9th round. But I don't know what it means to him. I have no idea. I'd sleep with that round my head, by the way, if I won it. So there you are then, the WBA International Championship belt being put round the waist of the very happy South African. Main event still to come here on British Eurosport. It features a real title, the European Championship. Stay here.
Für einen tollen Fight.